Welcome to the Juice Radio Talk Show. 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 Reality TV, church reviews. Let's talk happy love and marriage lifestyle. Come and talk with us. Come and share with us. Come and laugh with us. Come on and pray with us.
Regina and Clovis, special guests. You should be following your lead. Bless. Subscribe on YouTube. Listen on podcasts. We live on IG and Facebook. This episode is sponsored by TRIUMPH Ministries.
All right. Hello, everybody. And we're back. It's time. Come on now. Grab your lunch, and come on over here. We're about to have the conversation to help out financially to people that are looking for the assistance. Now, we know a lot of y'all are looking for just a lot of gossip, but what's gossip going to get y'all in this world? What is it going to get y'all? Come on now. Get some resources and tools that's going to help you in this world, all right? Thank you so much to Pastor Grant for being back again. It's our Money Monday series. It's time to grab your lunch and come on and learn. Today, we're continuing our conversation about business. Now, if you missed some of our previous videos, please go back on our YouTube channel. Check those out. Remember the Juice Radio and Talk Show. Look for our red mug. Here's a logo on the screen. Make sure you have the right channel. And then look at those videos. We're trying to help people repair credit, get business savvy, business minded, and a whole bunch of stuff. Today, we're going to talk about how to secure business funding. Ooh, now this is a good one, you guys. Grab your notepads. And those of you who say, well, I'm at work, I can't grab my notepad. I'm listening while I'm under my desk. That's okay. You can go back and watch the video again and take your notes in. All right. And thank you for listening. Pastor Grant, thank you so much for being here. Let's dive on in here. What do we got today for the people?
Yeah, so today is exciting. Again, happy Monday, everyone. It's an opportunity to share this information. Hello, Seceding 2. Good to have you back with us today. And so we just wanted you to, again, get your pen and pencil out. And let's just talk about some things that we can do as we continue in our series on business, right? Opening business, managing a business. One of the key components is funding, securing funding. So in many aspects, we'll start off our business oftentimes with our own funding, right? We're self-funding, we're getting it started, because I'll tell you, most lenders want to know, what do you have? What kind of skin do you have in the game? What have you committed? What have you started, right? Because we have to be first partakers of our vision and our purpose. They want to know, how much have you put in this? Not just in ingenuity, in your innovation, your idea, your creativity, but also what effort have you put in and what resources. And so when they look at that, they evaluate your capability, right? And really your ability to have focus, right? They want to know you're focused in this and you're committed. So before the lender applies their own funding, they have to want to know, how much are you committed, right? And how much have you invested in this? And then we talked about last week about the business plan. So getting all of that information together is what's going to help you in procuring your funding, because they want to make sure that you vetted out your idea. You have evaluated your business and it's solid, and it is something that they can get behind, that they can support you in that next level. Because a lot of times you do need funding. You need certain aspects of funding in order to move forward, to make the business operate, right? So sometimes with startup, there's necessity. You might need funding in order to do some of your startup activity. It might be a major investment that you might need, not one that you can do on your own. So what you want to make sure, again, is making sure that business plan is locked down solid, that you've thought through and you've answered some questions that you feel like most lenders will ask. And it's very easy to find that information. Regina showed us some of that on last week, where you can go and just find the information a bit about a business plan so that you can be ready. So there are a lot of things where you might need funding, right? It's a necessity. If you decide that you're going to procure location, if you decide that you have to have equipment. So there are some large purchases. If you have a business where maybe it's transportation, you need to purchase a car or lease a car. So these are some of the things where you might see it might be outside of what you can do initially on your own. So here I am. Now I need to go and get some funding so that I can move forward, because you have a lot of business expenses. A lot of times we don't always think through and vet out some of those expenses that we might incur We want to make sure, even again, this is part of your business plan because you're looking at all of your expenses. What will it cost me to run this business? What will it also cost me in order to insure this business? So we want to talk about just a few things that you would want to make sure you have calculated before you go to attempt to procure funding. Because a lot of times I've seen this. People will say, well, I need probably, and again, they're thinking off the top of their hat, Regina. Yes. They haven't put any numbers, pen to paper. They haven't thought it through. What does it take for me to get there? Even the scripture talks about it. No man starts to build a building without evaluating the cost, so that he can be assured he has enough to finish.
You better come on with that word. Come on with that.
And so in order to execute your business well, you have to make sure you've done this evaluation. What will it cost me to run my business? And then what will it also cost me not to just stand it up, which is what a lot of people do. Okay, that's all I need to get it going. No, you also need operating costs if you don't have the funding already saved. And again, we're talking about going out to procure funding, going out to get funding for your business. So you might need operating costs, meaning I need a period, a gap between when I feel like I will actually start making money. And I need to be able to make sure that the business is solvable, right? It's solvent. We have enough money to sustain it. And so you need to include that in. So I'm just going to talk about a few things that you want to think about as you evaluate. So it might be payroll. You might have to start off. A lot of times when we're starting small businesses, we can start them on our own, right? And normally be a first employee, and maybe we have other family members who also join in. But in any instance, you need payroll. You need to pay people to come to help you, even if it's family. Right? You want to make sure that you have exercised that and thought that through. What does payroll look like for these first 6 months or 12 months? Then you want to talk about insurance. We talked about that before. A lot of times there is insurance that is required for your business. I would say that even if your line of business or what you're opening up and what you're attempting to make and bring to the market doesn't require some type of certification, you want to insure yourself in the business anyway for liability. Because you want to ensure that if something happens, if you have a complaint or you have an accident or something happens, that you have insurance available to you. There are a lot of insurance places, also insurance for your employees. If you get to that, you want to insure them and have insurance for them, health insurance. So these are some of the things you want to, as you go to procure funding, you have to have all of these ideas or necessity expenses at least reviewed. You may not need it, but at least you've thought about it, right? If you have licensing again or permits or taxes, if you're going to be renting a building, like a couple of our businesses, we have buildings, right? Facilities. And so those facilities, we're paying rent, we're paying utilities, we have to pay insurance, we have to pay taxes, right? And so all of those things you need to think about as you evaluate on getting your funding for your business. Next, we're talking about equipment. Some types of businesses, you need equipment, so you want to add that in. Inventory. You have a business where you're selling something, you don't have enough inventory to meet your demand.
Oh, my goodness. That's where a lot of companies get in trouble. Hey, Cece. Hey, Aaron. Thank you for being here. A lot of companies get in trouble with that part, not being able to get those products out.
Yeah, so you want to make sure that you have enough, right? You don't want to make a storehouse of things and then you're carrying additional products and services, but you want to make sure you have enough to meet your initial demand so that you can have a flow. You have a flow of meeting demand and you have a flow of cash coming in. The last thing you want is to have a high demand. You push out and you say, hey, I'm in business, I'm ready to sell. And then your demand is higher than the resources you have to fulfill it. And then you don't have a good client experience. You don't have a good customer experience. And so that means something. So you want to evaluate that. You also want to think about your advertising. We talked about that too last week. How much is it going to cost you to advertise? How much is it going to cost you to create your website? And maybe you might need a website SME, somebody who can help you in that so that your marketing looks well. My godfather, Apostle Calvin Colbert, he used to say sometimes no sign is better than a bad sign. So, yes, he would say that. And so it's so important that as you market, you want to make sure that it is amenable, that it draws the client base that you want to get. And so then sometimes you have to spend money. You have to spend money for that. We spend money, right? And so these are the things that you want to include. And then there's some extra things that you might need to pay. You might need to have travel. You might need to have consulting support, right? We talked about some consultants that you can use that are free, the SBA, also SCORE, and there are several others that you can consider. But there's some, if you're in a specialty, if you're doing something that's very specific and has a small amount of people who have that type of skill set, you're likely going to need to pay to have them to help service you, right?
Yes.
And so
hello,
again,
Pastor Lorenzo. How you doing, Pastor Lorenzo? He said, this is good stuff. And I am writing all of these down. And I would advise people to go back and look at last week's message that we had on here. And we taught on business planning and creating a business plan. And part of what we're talking about here, securing a business funding, is going to really rely on that business plan that you created. You need to sit down and look at the numbers. I mean, licenses, taxes, products, utilities, permits, advertising, phones, website, travel, consulting, all of this you're going to have to look into. And you might say, well, that's too much. I don't have enough money for all that. But that's why we're talking about securing a business funding today. So don't give up. Get some advice on what to do. Don't stop the business. Keep the business going. Thank you, Pastor Grant.
Yes, so keep going. And so now that we just talked about a few of the expenses that you might incur as you operate your business, again, that whole business plan is really going to help you understand and give you a clear road, give you a clear map to where you need to go to next. So now we're really going to talking about different kinds of lending. Now, I want to say this. There is a variety of different lendings, and you may find that you need different types at different times. It depends on where you are in the business. Are you just doing startup, or are you growing? Or are you trying to expand? So certain seasons of the business may require you to do a different type of lending. It may require that you go in a different manner depending on what you need to do for your business and also your capability. So sometimes you might have to do something while it may not be traditional. This is what you're able to get approved for right now. And so you take that right now. I've done that before when we were buying a building and we had to procure different levels of funding along the way. I wasn't at that time, our business wasn't in a position to get the whole bundle. We weren't able to go and say, hey, I need almost $500,000. But we were able to get this chunk. And then once that got up and started, we went again and we said, hey, we need more money to get this piece done. And it may be with the same lender. In some aspects, we're going to the same lender, and it might be with somebody else. But the whole intention was to finish out the purpose, finish out the vision. And so again, you have to be flexible. And so you have to also leverage information and make wise decisions. You have to remember you're signing your name. And so wherever you sign your name, you're responsible.
That's right. You got to pay that bill back now. You got to pay it. If you want to be able to ask for more, they're going to see how you did with the little they gave you before they give you the next lump sum. So make sure that you keep those payments paid. All right, I love this.
Yeah, and you definitely don't want to overtax yourself, especially when you're getting started, right? So in many aspects, I've had lenders that say, oh, you can get more than that. No, I don't need all that. This is what I need for right now because I know what I need to pay back, right? And you're just one aspect of the vision and purpose I'm working on. I have a whole lot of others. And so I need to make sure I'm managing all of those bits and pieces so that it works to my advantage. Because a lender is trying to loan money. They just want to lend. And so they're fine to lend you as much as they can because they recognize now you have to pay them back. But you also need to be wise in your decisioning because just because they want to give it to you doesn't mean you need it.
Ooh, that part.
And so sometimes if we get money and it doesn't have a purpose, we misuse it. So money, your seed is for purpose. And so we have to be very cautious about that. That's how it's very difficult when, say, for instance, people get a lot of money at one time and they're not accustomed to that. They don't have the controls in place. They don't have the personal integrity and the controls, manage themselves enough to say, no, I don't need that. This is for here. This has this purpose, and have the ability to set it aside. And this is when this is supposed to use for that. I'm really good about that. And I have to tell people when you're operating and you're running a business, you have to be able to self-manage, even control yourself in the financials. Even when things are going well, you have to be able to say, okay, yeah, it's going well. But just like the ant, that's what scripture talks about. Just like the ant, it says, consider the ant that he gathers when things are going well. He gleans well because he recognized the season will change. And so when you get to the lump sum, you have to make sure you're using it for the purpose to which you've gained it. Because if you don't, and that opportunity come up, well, you've already used it. You already used it against something else. Yes.
I tell you, I'm loving this. Hey, Joseph, thank you for listening. Thank you so much for being here, Joseph.
Yeah, so we'll talk about, traditional loans. that is one of the ways that you can go about getting your lending. I always said, we said this before, it's good to leverage a relationship you already have, right? So if you're with a bank institution already, you've already have your business account there, oftentimes you'll find it much easier, right? Because you don't have to supply them with a lot of information because they already have it. You already have a relationship. You already have an understanding of how you both operate, and you're just doing more business. Most financial organizations want more business. And so they're looking to operate with you. They're looking to see, how can I help facilitate that? So I always say that's really should be your first stop. And when you're going to do a traditional loan, that means that you have to make sure, one, you have all of your information together. You have to make sure you've checked and validate your personal credit. We talked about that earlier in some of the earlier lessons.
It's important.
It's certainly before you go to try to obtain funding, evaluate your own personal credit, especially if you're starting, because they're going to use you. Your business has no history. Your business has no history. It has no foundation. There's not a strong confidence because you haven't done anything yet. So they're going to be looking at you as an individual. So make sure before you go to procure funding, you've evaluated your credit. You've made adjustments or made maintenance where it's necessary to clear it. So again, we're talking about being ready, being prepared so that you clear the way and it's easier for you to get to funding. That business plan makes it easier for you to get to funding. Clearing your personal credit, making sure it's in the right order, clears the way, makes it easier. We're not saying it can't be done because we believe that God gives provision for his promise. He gives provision for his purpose. So I've seen it happen when people didn't even have good credit because God was for them. But we always say it makes it easier. Kind of pre-work. So
that's right.
Lending, you'll go to your lender again, find out about your credit history, make sure it's on time, make sure you paid your bills on time. Most likely, traditionally, we talked about this before, they're looking for credit scores, that are above 680, most likely when they're doing traditional lending, right? But I would say check with your lender again because their relationships and they have a clarity. And, sometimes God just gives you favor. I have seen this.
I love it.
You get favor because they recognize where you're going. That business plan we talked about before can open up some doors for you. So again, you want to look at what you have in revenue. I will say in most businesses for traditional lending, they're looking at your history. How long have you been in business? Also startup. There's some startup loans too, right? And so I will say this too, try the SBA, look on there for some of the startup loans that they can help with that. One time, of course, online lenders. So there are some lenders who are specific to lending for businesses. We talked about before, Regina, about vetting them out, making sure that this is a solid, trustworthy organization before you try and do anything with anybody. Online, there are a lot of online lenders. Again, go to the Small Business Association, ones that have been surveyed by the Federal Reserve, so you can be sure that their lending practices are solid and sound. Sometimes the interest rates, again, will vary because of your credit rating or where you are in your business. Don't be afraid of that. I tell people, I say this all the time. They're like, oh, they want to charge me 10, 12%. You're just getting started. Somebody is giving you a yes. Get in the door.
Get in the door.
Get the business started, and then you can go back after you've proven and gotten history. You can go back and then renew, right? Renew the loan, revise the loan to a lower interest rate. Good, pulling that up. Small Business Association. So you can get some guaranteed small business loans by leveraging the SBA. They will help you. They will help you in filling out your documentation. They have classes. They will help you in getting everything together, and then they will support it, right? They will support your SBA loan as you get those through the financial institutions. They will be backed by the SBA. So I've done that in one of our businesses already, where we've gotten a loan that was guaranteed by the SBA. And so again, all those documentations that you have are necessary. They will support you in that process. They help you with the 7A, 504 loan, a micro loan. It depends on what kind of business you're doing. What do you have available? And again, what season are you in? So we talked about that earlier. There's a variety of loan and lending mechanism. You have to evaluate what works best for you. And so when you need support in answering those kind of questions, again, we refer you to resources that are made available to you, SCORE and SBA. They can help you. And I am a witness because I've used them, I've leveraged them, and I found it to work out well. So again, traditional lending, online lending. We talked about personal loans. So most often, sometimes if your personal credit, you might actually have to use a personal loan. Depends on where you are. If you want to get established, again, you have to be aware that if the business does falter, that's on your personal credit. You're still liable. It doesn't release you. It's not under the business. It's under your name. And so most often, if it's the business name, you're still the endorser, right? You're still the signer, but it's held under the business. But if you leverage personal resources, it's liable to you individually. So you have to make sure that if that's the route you need to take, that you're aware of that and you operate in that capacity, that you might use that for now, but you pay it off, right? And build up your credit history. And then the next time you do a loan or a lending, you get it under the business name. I actually did some things under the business. This is my traditional, my habit, not because I needed it, but because I'm establishing credit. Always trying to go and get a credit card in the business name. Make sure I have a checking account in the business name. Make sure I have a line of credit in the business name. Not that I'm going to use it tomorrow. I'm not going to use it, but I'm establishing a history. And sometimes you have to use it, just get something and then pay it off, because I'm establishing history. I'm establishing a presence. I'm establishing something that they can track, so that when the time is right, the scripture said, and when the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen. So when the time is right for you to expand, the time is right for you to grow, you're ready to do something different, you have a track record. You have history. And so a lot of times, all of these things are iterative. You're working on them as you go along. And when you get there, you've already made a clear path. You can say, check my track record. You can see what I've already done. You can see what I've already created. You can see where I've already pathed my way to my vision. And so that's great. A lot of times, are you all going to cover business credit to establish yourself first? Yes, we'll talk about that too. So business credit, again, we're just talking about loans right now at this point. And how do you procure funding? Personal credit, we talked about micro lending. So again, these there are a lot of organizations too that do micro lending. There are ones that do it for women who are trying to get women in business. Normally they're smaller loans, right? $50,000 or less. Some are $25,000 or less. I've even seen some organizations that afford for a grant. So they're doing like micro grants, just trying to get $5,000 here. If you approve, if you apply and you're approved and you're selected, just trying to get you started. So we want to encourage you today that funding is available. This information is available to you, just like we were just sharing a moment ago on the SBA, on the SCORE website, on your own state, your corporation state website. You can find information. They want to help us get started. They want to help you. We have to do our due diligence in preparation, right? So the thing we talked about already, self-funding. So self-funding, again, is another way to get started. You might have saved. They call that bootstrapping.
Mattress money.
Yes, mattress money. That's right, mattress money. So money that you've set aside, or money that you've held, or maybe sometimes when you receive a lump sum, maybe it's from an inheritance, maybe it's from your taxes, and you decide, I'm going to use it. I'm going to set this aside because I'm preparing for my next opening in the business. Here's a good lump sum that's going to help me to get started. And so it will pay off down the road a lot of times when you make sure you self-fund to get it started, because then you don't start off with so many different responsibilities as you try to grow the business, right? And if you want to apply for a loan, it certainly shows, again, your due diligence, your commitment, your perseverance, because I have skin in the game. Here's the money I put in. Here's what I've done to make sure this business goes well. Here's what I have at stake. You're not just putting your money on the line. Here's the money that I have at stake if this doesn't go well. And to a lot of lenders, that means a lot. The next thing is investors. A lot of times you can get an investor who can help you, right? Who wants to invest in that line of business. You can find, again, investors online very easily. Again, make sure you're going to a proven website, and you make sure you vet out the person that you might select to invest with, right? There are a lot of venture capitalists who that's all they do. They sow funding into new businesses that are in the area or lane that they are really have passion about. And so they're willing to contribute to that to help you grow, and now you have to pay them back, right? So they get an interest on that funding, or maybe they might want to get some royalty or have some ownership in the business, right? Some of you have seen before Shark Tank. Maybe you've seen it online, right? So those are investors. They want to invest in the company, but they take a percentage. They give the money up front, but they are now a partner. They own a portion of the business. And so that might be something you want to do to get started. Sometimes it's well worth it. If you're going to go into business and you're looking at a business that could expand to millions, you might need someone of that caliber who can come with that kind of money to help support you. And it's worth it. When you look at the totality of the picture of where you want to take the business, 20% or 10% or whatever is equitable for what you're doing might be plausible for you. It might be very beneficial to have the business, right? To have
Absolutely.
Absolutely. The other ways of crowdfunding, you can get that online. We see a lot of that, especially in this time of season, right? Where we are in our history, where we are, 21st century, we see a lot of crowdfunding. So people who have a very popular idea, Kickstarter, if you have an idea and you say, hey, if those of you can pitch in and help me support this particular idea, help me get it off the ground, a lot of times people just want to help. And so they will sow into your idea, and they call it crowdfunding. It's just like how people go on Facebook and they get a, what is it called? They get a GoFundMe.
GoFundMe page. Yes, I was just going to say, GoFundMe.
And so they get one of those. Crowdfunding is very similar, but from a business aspect. Here they are, they're pouring in, and they're going to help you through some of these popular sites where people want to sow into that vision and help it grow.
That's
right. Then lastly, you can also get some particular, not lastly, but from friends and families. You might have friends and families who want to fund in your vision and in your business. I've done that before. I see them wanting to get started, wanting to start in something new, and they need that kind of support. So you just sow into it, and it could be just straight sowing, or it could be helping make sure you support the business by being one of the first few partakers of the service, right? Of the product and service. So you might be asking your family and friends. We talked about that before, using them as a focus group, using them as your first customers and clients, and making sure that they help. And then they could also be from that funding source. They could be a foreign funding source from you. And the last one, consider is grants. So there are a lot of grants, a lot of available grants out there. And we'll likely talk about our grants on next week, again, along with starting off the business. But certainly there's opportunity for funding. We don't want anyone to feel like I can't get my business started because I don't have any money. There's money out there. There's ways to get started. When you tell your narrative, I tell people all the time, own your story. Tell your narrative. When you share what you're doing, when you share what you have going on, when you share your commitment and you share your dream, there's someone who's interested. There's someone who can at least help you to the next level. They may not be able to go with you all the way. There have been people in my life in different aspects of business and even in aspects of ministry. They were enablers in certain aspects. They may not have continued the work, right? But they helped me to get started in whatever that particular season was. So you can leverage those resources for that season to help you get to the next. So don't allow your own inability or your own resources to limit you. There are resources out there.
I love it.
Today, as we talked about procuring funding, that there are a lot of sources and avenues that you can take, and you just need to be aware and evaluate what will work best for you for your current season, and then strategize for your next.
I love this. Well, you guys, this has been, we did a 30-minute segment today because, listen, we're both busy women, but we did not want to leave you with anything. We wanted to come and give you something today. Yes. We're going to be cutting it a little short today. Pastor Lorenzo, I'm going to close out with this. He says, you have to show that you're ready to invest in yourself.
Yes,
absolutely, Pastor Lorenzo. Now, you guys, we're going to be doing these segments, and we have been doing them every Monday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. You guys are welcome to come back every Monday. Click your notification bells to be reminded when we go live. Also, go back and watch some of our past videos of our Money Monday series. Okay, and follow Pastor Grant. Erin has put Pastor Grant's information in the chat. She is a real pastor. We just don't have a title. She's a real pastor. It has a great, fantastic ministry, and she is teaching people, listen, not only about the love of God, but also to be better financially stable, independent people and create businesses. You don't always have to just walk into a business. You can also become a business that somebody walks into. All right.
I like that.
Yes. So y'all have a wonderful, blessed day. We're getting ready to get out of here. We're closed with this. Pastor Lorenzo said, you teaching now. This is stuff people charge hundreds of dollars.
All right.
Thank you. Away for free. Bless you both. Thank you, Pastor Lorenzo. Thank you so very much as well. All right. I love y'all for watching. Be back here next week, Monday at 12 noon for more Money Monday. Grab your lunch and come on and learn. Thank you, Pastor Grant. Love you. And thank you so much for being here. On the count of three, we're going to get out of here. You ready?
Yes.
1, 2, 3. Goodbye.
Yes.
A heartfelt thank you to all of our subscribers who joined us for this video. If you have not already subscribed, go to our YouTube channel, The Juice Radio and Talk Show. Subscribe and click on the notification bell to be alerted whenever we go live. Join our private Juice community. Go to www.thejuicecommunity.com and sign up for free. Join us, The Juice Radio and Talk Show. We have our Money Monday financial series. It is a lunch and learn program at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time on Mondays. Also on Monday, we have our reality series and hot topics at 7 p.m. Wednesdays, we have Bible study at 7:30 p.m. Thursdays, we have church news at 7:30 p.m. We also offer motivational moments, happy marriage lifestyle, news from a godly perspective, movie reviews, as well as our single moms club, Let's Talk Ex-Millennials, and of course, our Cooking with Clovis. Follow us on our podcast channel, The Juice Radio and Talk Show Podcast, streaming on all podcast platforms. A great big thank you to our podcast production company, Noye Podcast Productions. They can help you create your own podcast also. Contact them today at houseofnoye.com. Thank you to our sponsor, Custom Apparel Shop. Have them complete your embroidery work and silk screening needs. Do you need a logo created for your fashion apparel or company? Contact Israel Mason today. That is 786-657-7501. Thank you to our main sponsor, Truth and Triumph Ministries. Truth and Triumph Ministries, a ministry that cares about telling people the truth so they can triumph in life. Thank you, Truth and Triumph Ministries, for all you do.